Hey everybody. Short lecture, which probably means there's an assignment tonight, but we should talk about Betty Ford's speech and what it addresses and in what way. To identify a public problem, we have to think about the various definitions of public we've looked at so far. The various understandings of the public as a concept are integral to a number of other key ideas. We can think about the public as it applies to place, space, time, the audience, the rhetorical situation, and the arguments we're going to make, and then graft all of those onto how we create arguments and identify claims, warrants, qualifiers, or premises with regards to pathos, ethos, and logos. And of course, we always have kairos in the mix, as well as the concerns of multiple publics and counterpublics, and our own sense of phronesis and doxa. See, I wasn't kidding when I said rhetoricians love words, was I? So looking at Betty Ford's speech to the American Cancer Society, not too complex, is it? But think about what's being said here, and think about what's being communicated on a deeper level. Think about the situation in terms of kairos, and the kind of circumstances she was in. What was she addressing? Well, her experience as a cancer survivor and the nature of that experience, those are being discussed. But for our purposes, the question is, who is she addressing? And who isn't she addressing? Question 1. How could you understand Ford's speech as playing on pathos, ethos, or logos? Why do you feel that way? Not all patients are alike. With regard to healthcare, there's a lot of historical analysis done on the nature of disease and health, which reveals societal inequalities and systemic shortcomings which impact different groups and different people in different ways and in varying sensitivity. Ford talks about, quote, good doctors, a loving supporting husband, and understanding children. But she also has good healthcare, access, and the ability, time, and support to take advantage of that access. Of course, this speech was delivered over 40 years ago. Does everybody have that now? This is a good time for question 2. What could Ford address in our current time if she made this speech today? What might she change? Ford notes how her circumstances, quote, made me realize how many women in the country could be in the same situation, which led her to talk about her surgery openly to help others. She states, I just cannot stress enough how necessary it is for women to take an active interest in their own health and body. She is aware enough to recognize her situation, as well as the fact that other people may not be in the same situation, stating, quote, some women don't have these same emotional resources, and it is very necessary to deal realistically with the fears about breast cancer. She also talks about cancer in a fairly old-fashioned way, kind of madman-esque, when she brings up the question of vanity, losing an arm versus losing a breast. That is prefaced by the comment, quote, I started wearing low-cut dresses as soon as the scar healed, and my worries about my appearance are now just the normal ones of staying slim and keeping my hair kempt and the makeup in order. There's a good chance that if this speech were made today, that would be a different statement. Or she could have talked about losing her breast versus losing her life, as opposed to comparing it to losing another part of her body, which many, especially right after multiple wars and a number of violent upheavals, might have to deal with. Question 3. How do you interpret Ford's mention of her body in terms of addressing different publics? Who do you think her intended audience was? Ford then pivots to the nature of cancer as a fear-producing entity. She talks about how cancer strikes the spirit as well as the body, and how fear can come about from ignorance regarding medical progress. She then talks about how important love and support are. Ford says, quote, we can open our hearts and our minds to dealing with the fears that the victims have, and also the fears many of us have of the disease itself. She closed her speech by talking about helping saving other lives and being grateful for what she's able to do. There, we see an expansion of the personal to the collective, from the individual to the group. Ford trades on being relatable, and hopes that others can see themselves as the intended audience, despite a number of cultural and socio-political differences, and of course, inequalities. So there you are. An important speech on an important topic, which is both personal and public, as well as complicated, despite it seeming so simple on the surface. See you online, and please reach out if you have any questions.